All fantasy football players looking for that diamond in the rough late round pick. Anyone's able to draft a great player in the first round, but making a decision on a late round pick, it often feels like it's nothing but a dart throw. Today, I got 5 guys who have the potential to be big contributors to your fantasy teams in 2023. The first receiver we're going to look at here is Romeo Doubs. Last season, Doubs was on a lot of people's list for late round sleeper picks. There was a lot of talk about him becoming Aaron Rodgers' wide receiver 1 during training camp last year. The Doubs hype was real, and it ended up becoming real disappointing. Because as we saw, Christian Watson ended up becoming the stud rookie for the Packers. That reflects in their draft spots this season, though. Watson's being drafted around players like Keenan Allen, DeAndre Hopkins, and Terry McLaurin, while Doubs being drafted around receivers like Rondale Moore, Alec Pierce, and rookies Rashee Rice and Jonathan Mingo. And I mean no disrespect to those players, but they're not on the level of DeAndre Hopkins. Watson had better stats overall, but both these guys are second-year wide receivers going into a season with a new quarterback. Year 2 is generally considered a breakout season in fantasy for a lot of receivers, so getting Doubs 6 rounds after Watson is an insane discount for a player who's a top 2 wide receiver in Green Bay, and he does have the potential to become a top guy. There's been news out of training camp that Doubs has apparently become Jordan Love's go-to guy, and if that's true, his draft stock for sure is going to rise by the time the season starts. The second wide receiver we're going to look at is Van Jefferson. The Rams' offense last season was trash. They averaged only about 18 points per game, and you're not getting many fantasy points for your players when you only average 18 points a game. There's also a lot less run when there's a top-tier wide receiver in Cooper Kupp who absorbs more targets than any single player in the league. After Kupp, though, there's still plenty of targets to go around, and there's not a lot of wide receiver talent on the Rams. Van Jefferson is the clear number 2 guy on this team. It was supposed to be Allen Robinson, but he ended up being a shell of his former self last season. Robinson did have more targets and receptions in one less game than Van Jefferson last year, but the reason that doesn't matter is Robinson played in every single game but just one with Matt Stafford, while Van Jefferson got to play in 2 games with Matt Stafford. I mean no disrespect to the likes of Baker Mayfield, John Wolford, and Bryce Perkins, but if you combine the best attributes of all 3 and you put them into just one player, they don't have half the skill that Stafford has. If Stafford is healthy this season, Van Jefferson could have a breakout year. The next receiver we're going to look at is Rashid Shaheed, a guy with a very fun name to say. He's currently the wide receiver 3 in the Saints depth chart, but that's going off the unlikely event of Michael Thomas actually playing a full season. If Thomas is out, he's the wide receiver 2, but even with Thomas playing, it doesn't change the fact that Shaheed's a great player to get late, particularly if you're playing in a best ball league. Shaheed had one of the highest average yards per catch in the entire NFL last year at 17.4 yards, and while he did only catch 28 passes all year, 20 of those were in his last 5 games. His targets and snap counts increased as the season went on, and this undrafted rookie secured himself a spot in the lineup. He has big yardage plays that are drawn up for him that, if executed, result in good fantasy points on just one play. Derek Carr is also the new quarterback for the Saints, which is a nice upgrade for them. It's going to result in more passing and more scoring. Shaheed is a great player to get for those out-of-the-blue, high-scoring fantasy weeks. The fourth player we're going to look at here is Darius Slayton of the New York Giants. And somebody needs to explain this to me. Why is a player that led the Giants in yards and targets last season the 5th receiver being drafted for them? Not the 5th Giants player, but the 5th Giants receiver. Slayton's the wide receiver 1 in this team. The Giants have a lot of young receivers on the roster, but Slayton is only 26 years old. It's not like he's an old guy. He's going into his 5th season, so it's understandable to think that he isn't going to break out into an elite receiver. But none of the other guys on this roster have had multiple consistently good seasons. They're all just what-ifs. A bunch of what-if receivers that are playing on a team that had the 6th fewest passing yards last season. The Giants also added Darren Waller in the offseason, and he's expected to draw the most targets on the team. After him, Daniel Jones is going to be looking for his most consistent receiver, and that is Slayton. Slayton is a player that's going all the way at the end of drafts. In many cases, he's going completely undrafted, and a lot of people think he does not have the upside that other Giants receivers might have, but he's their best wide receiver right now, and there's no denying that. The disrespect is unreal. The 5th and final receiver we're going to look at for this video is Terrace Marshall Jr. from the Carolina Panthers. Marshall's in a similar situation to Rashid Shaheed fantasy-wise. Currently both wide receiver 3s on their teams, but they have the skill set to catch deep balls that can lead to a lot of fantasy points with just one play. There are 2 key differences for these 2 though. Shaheed is being taken around the 13th round, while Marshall is going all the way in the last round of drafts or completely undrafted, and the Saints have Chris Olave, who's the clear wide receiver 1 on the team, while the Panthers do not even have a clear wide receiver 1. Marshall's competition for this role is an aging Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, who we've seen enough to know he's not a wide receiver 1 on any team, and rookie Jonathan Mingo, who was a 2nd-round pick this year, but Marshall was a 2nd-round pick just 2 seasons ago. The Panthers were a bottom 5 passing offense last season, but the addition of first overall pick Bryce Young is going to improve their passing game tremendously. Marshall has plenty of signs pointing to a potential third-year breakout season. If you want something to back that prediction up, PFF rated Marshall as the best receiver at go routes in the NFL in 2022. Even if he doesn't become the wide receiver one for his team, he has the ability to make big plays that can lead to some high-scoring fantasy weeks. That ain't bad for a last-round pick. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Didn't think anyone would come this far. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and comment your thoughts down below. Thanks.